to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
So I am here with Taufiq. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
It's great to be here.
So I'm so fascinated by this. When did you write this?
This was released April 9th, 2025. So right at almost the first 3 months of the administration.
Did you know he was going to become president? You had a feeling?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you started writing this.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of wrote it with the anticipation of that, and then was in a race to finish and get it out, and then make sure that, it could stand the test of time.
Oh my goodness. I bet I can only imagine the feedback you got. So
yeah.
What inspired you? Got to tell me all. What was behind this?
Well, I in 2024 ended up writing a book about Gaza, and it was the most controversial topic at the time. Everybody's in histrionics, they're fighting, and I'm like, this is such an important issue. It's affecting everybody. We need a common, text that people can actually read about the crisis. And when I did that, it was received pretty well because people were like, wow, okay, there's no politics here. We can just actually look at it. And so obviously, in that way, Trump is like Gaza. Everybody's got an opinion. They're on different sides. They're screaming at each other. And I said, let me put something out there because this is such an important, individual moment where we can have one frame of reference for people to be able to look at, through and see the world. And that was really the genesis of Trump 2.5.
And I love that you keep everything it's not like any one-sided. How was that going into that process? I'm sure that was very much a priority for you.
Yeah.
So how were you able to maintain that?
It's like you have to be both objective, right? Where you're saying, okay, I'm not taking a side, but then you got to be careful that you're also evaluating it, correctly, because it could be that maybe there are things that aren't being done, let's say, correctly, or there could be something that's unethical, but objectively speaking. So I had to constantly, monitor myself. But I didn't get caught up too much in how people would react. People are going to be upset one way or the other. You can't control it. So I let the chips fall where they may. You lose some friends, along that journey, as you know. But I think in the end, it's a good product. And it's accurate. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I did that part well.
You made sure it was fact-driven.
Mm-hmm.
So, in some things it's easy, but some things hadn't happened yet, or we didn't know how we're going to happen. So how are you able to assess that and explain, well, this is why I think this is going to go this way. This is based on past events. This is the direction.
Right.
How are you able to do that?
Well, it's like behind the scenes, I've been working on politics and geopolitics for 2 decades, and I always say, don't make predictions. Because, first of all, you're going to get it wrong, right? But second, you can't operate like that. The world is so complex. So many things are going to happen day to day. Not only is what's going to happen something out of your, the realm of possibility, you actually don't even know the types of things that are going to happen. What will come out of left field, like a war or an incident, pandemic, assassination attempts. You don't know, right?
Right.
So predictions are not good. So I always say you do scenarios. And actually, once you do that, you can start to see different types of reactions to those scenarios. So what I had to do in the book was, if I looked at Iran, for example, or I looked at Latin America, I had to say, what is the general disposition of the administration going to be? How are then people going to react? How would then the administration react? What would then the policy be that carries through? And that's kind of how I looked at the Western Hemisphere, where it's like the Trump administration is going to say we want to have a hegemonic presence, we want to fortify here, kind of expel a little bit of Chinese influence. They're going to see who actually reacts to that. People who react will either going to have to submit or they're going to act against them. And most likely, you're not going to be able to submit if you're Venezuela, so they're going to act against Venezuela. And so that's in the book, even though I don't know what's going to happen.
Wow. And what do you think about what's happening now?
It's a whole other level. It's like everything is happening all at once. I think I didn't anticipate the degree to which, they were so successful so fast, and we're in Washington, D.C., that the people who were outside of power got inside of power very quickly. And I think some of them on a lower level got a little bit drunk on power or drinking their own Kool-Aid. And so that's something that I probably didn't see coming so quickly.
And that's hard. I mean, now that you see it, you understand why it's like happening. It's one of those hard to navigate. What's the feedback you're getting? You got to tell me what kind of feedback you're getting.
Well, definitely, like, so some of the feedback we had the launch in New York, right, which is not necessarily like an openness to even discussing, Trump. Very well received in terms of people in the business community, investment community, because it was a primer. It's a resource. But there were some bookstores that did not want to carry it at all.
Isn't that strange? Because it's one of those things where it's the power that there's so much. It's just hate and love, and I'm kind of like where you are. Like it's about objective. I mean, it's irrelevant whether you hate, you know what I mean? He's in power. It doesn't matter whether you hate him or not.
Well, imagine you do hate him and he's your enemy. I'm like, you don't want to understand him. You don't want to know what motivates him. You don't want to know what he's going to do.
Right?
I mean, how do you even plan a strategy?
You should actually want to know that
more, right?
Yeah. And so that's why it's so funny to me. So how'd you overcome that? Most of the bookstores, for the most part, carry.
Yeah, most of them. But, to be honest, we had an event where they essentially shadow banned it at their own bookstore after lower level people, because we had done another event there, so they were super excited to do an event around this book. It's one of the major book chains
and
in
those
New
people
York.
that aren't going to read it that are doing that.
The owner of the bookstore got involved of this, as she's a very prominent person in New York, and so you deal with that, but then you're like, America's also a big country. The world is a big place, and I've always looked at the book carrying its message not just in New York or DC, but everywhere. And so you can find the book, from Tokyo to Karachi to Dubai to London, and I've had conversations with all sorts of people from all types of backgrounds.
And what is the response? Because like me, we're ethnically from other places, from other places. So especially you, I imagine that some people are drawn to it more because you're. So what was that response like?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because people have expectations. So some people expect me to have a certain politics,
right.
And so when they start talking to me about the book, I said, well, look, I've written this subjectively, and then they're already taken aback because they're just preparing the epithets on the president. True or not true, this is not the way I approach it. So that is the first one. But the second one is actually people, they get very curious because they would expect you to maybe have a certain view. And so we had this one interview when President Trump went out to Saudi Arabia, on that big trip, and I'm in the room.
Okay.
With Elon Musk and all of these guys, and Lutnick and Bessent. So you have the cabinet officials, you have all the top, corporate leaders, you have the sheikhs, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi. So we did an interview with essentially the leading English language station of the Middle East, which is Al Arabiya, between Saudi and the UAE. And that interview went viral in the US. And it was because people were looking for coverage of this trip, which was super momentous. Right? He met the president of Syria, who was a former Al Qaeda member, crazy. He's just sent him a bottle of cologne, by the way, the Trump victory cologne.
That's funny.
And so there's huge moments. So people are like, "What's going on?" And it was, again, not trying to praise what I'm doing, but it was the only interview that just gave an objective read of what happened in the room, where the moment was, and we were just, 3-4 months into the administration, but people kind of received it. They said, oh, we would assume that you're just going to have, I've gone to all the elite schools, not in addition to, my ethnic background. I've, been in the think tanks, all this stuff. So just being fair-minded just finds an audience, I think, when people see it.
Wow, that's impressive. What does Trump say about this? I'm sure he says it would.
It's interesting. The White House and people around Trump, they've enjoyed the book. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 cabinet officials with a copy of the book with them. A lot of people in the wider movement. But I think, to be honest, I would highly recommend President Trump sit down and read the book, because I think I give it a little bit more coherence than he might find. And, DC can be a place of turmoil. Iran is one example. Kind of coming back to the core aspects of why he was elected, what the agenda was at the outset, probably would be helpful rather than reading the New York Times or the Washington Post or all these other gossip kind of, which actually to be honest, the president gets more drawn to these days is who's gossiping about him, rather than really what's the true analysis of what the administration's trying to do.
And I think that that's another reason why it's so great you wrote this. I mean, right now we're in a place where it's even hard to find, like, where respectable news sources are becoming trending and opinionated. And like I think I told you about my show, I don't really like opinionated stuff. I like facts and what people are doing. So it's interesting. We don't even know where to get news anymore. I don't know where you get your news. Where do you get your news?
Well, this is a problem. So it's like a spigot, right? Because if you want to be objective, you're reading 100 things, you're following thousands of people on X, everything's coming from left and right field, and now it's a lot of AI slop. So you're dealing with AI slop, then people grifting on the AI slop, trying to sell you a product. You're like, what's actually news, right? And I don't know if you know, but now Silicon Valley is funding a lot of the kind of news outlets. And you have a few kind of big, let's say, of the previous media oligarchs owning things. So the Murdochs are just, buying Vox, for example. So you have this whole consolidation. You got, the tech and Andreessen Horowitz venture fund. They're buying news outlets. So you really don't have a lot of places to turn. So I'm actually developing in the background my own news platform to compete in the age of AI.
Seriously? Yeah. That's really cool. Where are you trying to make it predominantly internet-based? Or?
Yeah, so, I obviously behind the scenes have done a lot of briefings, and then I've also done a lot of venture investing. And so I'm like, wait, why don't, I invest some of these versus developing our own product, but not have it so disconnected from the original sources? Because what happens when you go to AI, you don't know where anything is coming from, right? It says what happened yesterday. It tells you, but you don't know who's actually reporting.
Oh, and that. I'm sure you've read so many false media reports about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's got to be fun. I have too, and I'm just kind of like, what?
Where does it even come from?
They make me more interesting than I am, which is awesome, I guess.
Well, maybe they're saying, like, you're younger, you got, like, let them come with the good facts, let them
some of it's good, but it's just so far-fetched. I'm like, none of this is true at all. So it's funny. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and it's so...
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's like a lot. It's crazy, and you don't know where it comes from. So I think, like, some people are anti-tech. You can't be anti-tech. You got to embrace it. You got to say, like, it's happening. You're going to stream probably this interview, right, and go to all sorts of different... So you're not against that, but still, we're meeting in real life, right? It's a real connection. Yeah. So it's like that blend, and that's like, I think...
But now we can actually AI this.
Yeah, I know, that's a danger.
And you could be AI.
I have that. Crazy. So in the news platform, like, I can create a whole video newscast. So that's already there. And it's just a matter of how much resource do you want to put out. But 100%, even if we hadn't met, and I could have made this interview, and it would have seemed real, and it would have had my voice, the way I speak, it could have read the book and spoken to the themes of the book, followed your interviews, analyzed how you do interviews. That's already there. We could have even done the scene, everything, nobody would have known the difference. Right. Just a matter of maybe $2,000 probably could do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you thinking, what do you like? Do you still like a lot of print journalism, or you like watching it?
No, I think print, look, I write. I
started in print journalism, so I get
yeah, you know what it's like, right? I mean, there's something about text. I mean, there's the rational, and there's like the emotional, okay? So if you're reading text, I'm like, the way you read, if you read a report, like, you're going to get a lot more, right? There's so much more depth. Even when you do the audiobook, you realize you're taking so long to do, like, very little content. I wrote an essay at the beginning of the Iran war, 25,000 words. And I'm like, you know what? That is going to stand the test of time. Now, not everybody's going to read it. So you got to be comfortable that, as a writer, like, okay, right. People aren't reading anymore. I think it's gone between this book and the last book. I have to push a lot more just to get people to read it. More people will buy it than read it.
And is this why you made it kind of, so you didn't make it huge? You did that on purpose because, people can't...
The primers, yeah, exactly. And I think that's, well, here's the thing. They say that a book... a lot of people write a book and then build all sorts of stuff. I'm like, this is what it took to write it. If it took more, I would have written more, but there's no reason to overwrite. The emotional also comes to writing. I don't know if I have a kind of a balance between the feminine and the masculine. I think all of us have that feminine and masculine thing, going, but you're going to imagine much more through the writing than if you're just given what
definitely,
to imagine,
absolutely.
Right? And that's why you see, like, even some of the book clubs and the huge trend going on right now. So despite everything going on, all sorts of people, not just the technical books or the serious books, things that allow people to imagine, create, type of daydream.
So I'm really fascinated about you having some real news now that you're going to provide.
Mm-hmm.
How can we keep touch on how it's developing and where we can find this?
So I think the number one thing I have a platform called 2040 World, and that's where I'm looking at the future of geopolitics and technology, where I'm developing this platform. It's going to come out of the venture arm there. But we're doing kind of roundtables, we're doing events, we're doing in-person salons. So even for America's 250, we're doing an event ahead of that.
Wow.
Called America 250, Republic or Empire. And it's in real life, won't even live stream it. So only if you're in Soho in New York can you come to that.
Oh, wow. When's this happening?
This is happening, I don't know when you're going to air, but June 4th.
Wow, that's really exciting. So that's like ticketed, right? People can
Exactly. Ticketed and invited, but friends of the show obviously are always invited.
Well, and then where can social media? I know you're kind of not great at. You're getting back into it. Then you're kind of going to tell us, hey, this is where you can stream.
So I'm back on X and Instagram. So it's my name, Taufiq Rahim. So
everybody follow that. It's good. It's easy. It's actually easy.
It's pretty easy. TaufiqZRahim, just like it's on the books. If you look up Trump 2.5, you'll find me online there.
No, that's great because I'm definitely curious. I definitely want a good source to look at the news, and I mean, you're so busy. I'm shocked that you're developing all of this.
It's keeping me a lot busy, but we're at a crazy time. I think we're defining the whole future of the world and humanity right now. It sounds grandiose, but that's what's happening between technology, the global order, America at 250. It's literally all happening. I bet you if we sit in 1 year, everything will look different.
Oh, the title, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but speak on that.
Okay. So, everybody says Trump 2.0, and it's so lazy. And I'm like, I also don't like the 2.0 because now that's everybody. Even when they go for like a meditative retreat, they're like 2.0. And I'm like, all right, what else is going on? But then I say, you know what? It is another version. It's just more than 2.0. He had the intervening period. He's actually not a consecutive second-term president, right? There was an intervening period, which is quite unique in American history. And so he went through this trial and tribulation, almost like the hero's journey, and comes back, has time to consolidate kind of his team, his views, his position, prepare, but then also has gone through this kind of catharsis moment. So it's more than just 2.0. It's more than just the second term.
Well put. I mean, the whole departure, fulfillment, return dynamic of it.
Exactly.
So I like that.
And that's why people were unprepared. Like that's why the first 3 months, was like people were like, what just happened? Actually, and I would say the biggest accomplishments of the administration were in those first 3 months.
Very true.
They succeeded too quickly, too well. They didn't know what to do. What they thought might take a year or two, they did in 3 months, and that's kind of what was the inflection point of the administration.
Wow. Is there a website you have too where it has all of your books listed? What's your website?
So I have my personal website, which is taufiqrahim.com. And then we have a website for the book called trumpprimer.com, where you can actually get the resources that we have there interactive. So where do you else go online? What are the top books, written by the Trump family? Who are the cabinet officials? And so it's kind of a resource on the book and also with my bio that you can find online, trumpprimer.com.
So what's the next step you're working on besides your new news journey?
Well, it's tough because I'm always doing, as you know, some of our common friends, the behind the scenes connecting, because I like to go from the idea to like actually the action and making things happen.
That takes a lot of work.
Exactly. So I was busy, and then it's a problem for me because then I get the bug to write again. So I am working on something. It's supposed to come out in the fall if I can meet the deadlines. It's a shorter piece, but much more idea driven, and I would say it echoes one of the seminary kind of figures of the American Revolution, Thomas Paine.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'm living in Lower Manhattan, which is where Thomas Paine was. And so a lot of people, they critique, the wokeness of Manhattan or that it's changed. And actually, Manhattan is where America, its ideas, the revolution, some of the most major battles were all fought all originated. And so I'm kind of taking in that spirit and coming up with something.
I cannot wait to hear about this. This is really awesome. And your other books, is this your favorite piece that you've written so far that's out there?
Yeah, it's good because, it bridges. Trump is like the prism, through which I'm looking at the world. But it's also, the world is changing. And so if you read between the lines there's some commentary about China, about Russia, about like the tech bros, about billionaires. It's kind of all in there. And so that's kind of why I enjoyed it. But I think the next one will also be my favorite. So, that's how it goes.
That really is how it goes. What's the difference between your domestic sales, international sales?
So it's been interesting. I think domestic media engagement has been more international and sales have been more domestic.
Really?
Yeah. I think part of it is globally I am able to speak to the issues more. People are like, what is happening on Iran, or what is happening on Cuba, or what is happening between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, versus in the US it's what side are you on? Critique, not critique. Why is he doing a bad job? Why is he doing a good job?
Right.
Yeah. And because that's not my frame, I don't get pulled into those, type of, settings like CNN, for example. I'm friends with a lot of the anchors, but that's not, or MSNBC, but I can't come in as the partisan guy. And you'd think that that's what you would need. Let's give you the objective view, but there's less appetite for that, except for other shows, independent shows, podcasts. That in the U.S., huge pickup. Because people want to go deep, they want to understand things. You get a longer conversation.
You get a real conversation.
Real.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you know that right away there's going to be a spin. Nobody wants...
Even the way we're talking now, I mean, like, it's not, if you're going on a TV interview, I've had some of the longer forms, like 30 minutes, etc., like that one I talked about after the Saudi trip. But typically they'll be like, we want you to talk about X, Y, and Z, and they're not saying, let's go in and you're kind of probing and seeing kind of what's an insight, kind of let's go in this direction, let's really get to truth. That's not really how most TV interviews or spots or shows are run. It's more like everybody come here and play a role. It's like a play.
But you think it might be changing eventually?
I think it changes because most people are not consuming content on cable news. Mm-hmm. I think most people are consuming content through all sorts of other platforms. And it's a race to see who can create the type of platform that's going to succeed, because we're actually in the post-podcast era.
Right.
So we're in not just the post-cable TV, we're actually in the post-podcast era. People haven't realized it yet. They think we're still in the podcast era. But that's too boring for people. They sit around 60 minutes, 120 minutes navel gazing. And I have a podcast, and I'm always now trying to force the guests to say, we have to get to a truth. This podcast needs to be like, you're getting to something. Not you're like sitting around observing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. I can't wait to see what happens. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come here, because
Thank you.
You're barely here.
Yeah.
I'm never here, so I'm so glad we made this happen. Everybody's got to follow you, and this is a conversation starter, so this is a good, gift for anybody. I like it. I mean, it's even a stocking stuffer, but this is
that's true.
It's going to start a conversation. I don't know. Maybe not to your families during the holidays, or maybe so.
Yeah, maybe after the holidays you can deliver that.
So everybody read this book, everybody follow him, and thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
So it's really cool, like what you're doing. You got to tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name's Hernandez. I work for the Los Banos Enterprise, and we are a independently owned newspaper, and we basically report throughout Merced and Los Banos. And
how long have you worked?
So I've been there, November of 2024 is when I started.
Okay.
And then I really kind of came into my position probably about the beginning of last year. This year I set some goals mid last year, and then I've just been trying to increase our views and get monetized on the different platforms and get our distribution out. And then we started doing some stuff in Spanish as well to appeal to the Spanish audience that is in Merced.
Do you know Spanish?
I don't. There's
goodness.
Translation. There's people to help me with that, but
Thank
unfortunately,
goodness.
I don't know Spanish. My dad did not teach me Spanish, but I would like to learn one day. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so, why did you want to work for this particular paper?
So the opportunity came up, and when the job came up, I noticed that I had a lot of the capabilities on there, but I'd never really done journalism. And when I went to school, I thought about getting into communications, but I didn't. I went with business instead. And so I guess the opportunity just came up, and I was like, let's give it a try. Let's see if I could do it. And I've loved it ever since. It's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot and really tried new things, and I get to use, a lot of creativity, which is probably my favorite part, because a lot of jobs that I've had get kind of boring. So I've had a lot of fun.
And you're really fast at it. I noticed that you get things out there really. That's part of, like, I guess, the digital age. Back in the day, we didn't have it like that.
Yeah.
I was doing. So it's like you were really on top of it.
Yeah, it's really easy with technology, and once you learn to use it, it's a really good tool. And so we do have, our phones in our pocket and computers at home. I can pretty much update and report from wherever. There's not a lot of prep time because I'm not in front of a camera. I'm sure that it's a little bit harder if we were on, a show or something. So being on the news, I can write an article and I can have it out within about 20 minutes and on all the social media channels and everything. So as long as I stick with that and kind of improve my process, I can keep on a schedule and usually get about 3 stories a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what have been some of the interesting stories you've covered in the past couple of years?
So we do a lot of, I always tell everyone, I like good news better than bad news. And so one thing that I've really tried to do is focus on the community. And those seem to be the stories that really blow up. And it's because people want to hear about their neighbors. They want to hear good news. I will say that, the crime sometimes does get a lot of views and a lot of attention, but when I get to meet with somebody and do a story on them and interview and tell their story from their perspective and get that message out, it's really good. I like the way that it feels to kind of bring awareness to the area, and then also to just spread good news when it gets shared and people see it, because I think there's a lot of bad things happening, but on a local level, when you're looking at small towns, there's so much good stuff happening, and there's so many people that are helping and fixing things, and that's kind of what I want to focus on. So I tried to pick out people in the community that are making a difference and deserve the spotlight.
And how do you find out all these things?
Again, social media, very easy to do. Sometimes.
So you're good at your research.
Yes. Research, I make sure, and I get very self-conscious when I post an article. I always think about, okay, can something here be questioned or taken out of context? So I always make sure that when I do the research, it's very accurate. I make sure that, I'm reporting on things that aren't necessarily sensational. I stick with the facts. And so even if somebody tells me something.
I'm surprised how fast you get stuff out. You're fast and accurate.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to point out.
Again, technology. It's at our fingertips. We have the opportunity to Google. Being a student for so long, I've been in school for a long time, I have learned, the best ways to research and how to really fact check and everything.
So you're just really efficient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I like to move fast. So.
No, I love that. I always feel like I'm so slow, especially like that, because like you said, you want to get everything just right, and you're worried every time. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going to be the feedback? Is something going to get taken out of context?
Yeah, no, and when people, I feel like I have a duty to report, especially when in dealing with people. It's easy to post stuff up and get the views, but the thing is that, these are real people and real stories, and people have their information out there, and I want to do right by them. I like to sleep good at night and make sure that I did the right thing. So
what is the feedback that you've been getting from the community?
Honestly, the biggest thing is when we post about people and the good stories. A lot of people see it, and a lot of people comment, and people know these people, and so those are the people who are saying congratulations. One of the things that when we do the obituaries, especially the community obituaries in a small town, the comments on them, the information that we get on them, it's a place for the community to kind of get together and remember them. And I never knew that as an outlet. I always thought, obituary, you post somebody who passed away. And with us posting them in the newspaper and doing it digitally, everybody has a chance to comment. And it's really kind of nice to see the community rally around these families when they lose somebody. You know, they post their GoFundMe's, and that's what community is about. You know, standing up for each other and being there for each other. And I think that kind of adds a little bit of a local level as opposed to, you know, people reporting on bigger stories that don't really affect them on an everyday basis.
So you stay away from a lot of sensational stories.
Yeah, sometimes I do though. Sometimes we do get like a funny news story. Somebody had plates that they drew on with a paper and taped them on. I thought that was kind of interesting. So I mean, we do get some.
What is that?
So they had a car and they were like doing crime or something, but they got pulled over because they had plates that were written on paper. And then they taped them on their car and they got pulled over. So sometimes we get interesting stuff like that, and I don't mind that. But I like to stick to the facts. But some of the other stories that we've done that got a lot of attention, the one that we did about the veterans in Los Banos, and so the National Cemetery's there. And they don't have a lot of the newer generations of veterans to replace the older generations that do a lot of those ceremonies for the veterans when they pass away. And so all the flag ceremonies and the things that they do, they need newer veterans, the younger veterans, to sign up and replace the older veterans. And so those are the kind of stories that, you know, I want to be sent. Those are the,
Did they get important. That when you reported?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we got with the awards. So we'd won the Gruner Award, and so it was a runner-up.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing we're going to talk about, the award. So tell everybody about what this award is.
So the award, it's the Gruner Awards. They're at Fresno State. And basically they honor local journalism. And the biggest thing is that, I guess, it was originally for the person who's named after Gruner. He was from the Fresno Bee, and he refused to give his name away for, I guess he had like an informant or something, or he was involved in something, and he refused to give up the name of the person, and so they actually jailed him. And so I don't know the whole story, but that's kind of what I got looking into it. And so that's how the awards came out. That's a great story.
I love how, this is why I love, like, this show. I like when you do your release, you learn all these things that you never knew before. Yeah. So I never knew that that's where the awards came from. Like, because he actually he held on. And that's some real journalism. You keep your sources private and protect them. So
yeah, and so they named the award after him. And so we had applied for a bunch of awards, and we basically entered ourselves into them and kind of just see what was out there. That's usually
how it works.
We had just kind of got started to see what happened, and we got an award and then 2 runner-up awards. So
what were the awards for?
So Michael got the he got one of the awards, and then the other 2 that were, I got a runner-up for the commentary, and then one for the public service. And so I wrote one article about a guy named Sober Junkie. He's a local musician in the Los Banos area, and he's sober now, and he sings from a place of like converting his experiences and his pain and going through sobriety and turning that into art. And so I did a feature on him.
That's a great name, the Sober Junkie.
Yeah. And then the other one was about the Los Banos veterans. And it started out, there was a veterans parade, and they were asking for donations. So I called the Los Banos veterans, and I called them and asked them, hey, I just want some more information about this parade. And then that's where I started to really get to know the person in charge, and she kind of told me her story, and I wanted to transition it more into just, letting people know about a parade and donating, to why it's important to attend these functions and, be a part of them and donate, and again, why it's important to join your community and really help kind of back each other up. So,
do you have to go to a lot of these events?
So, being in Fresno, it would be hard. I do try to go when I can, but it's a lot of times I don't have to. Sometimes,
how do you get the story without going to events?
I talk to people. I usually get secondary perspective, and then I find out about what it is, and I'll promote it. I'll say about it and when it is and how to get there, how much it is, and then
so more about promoting the event before, not after.
Sometimes, and then if it's something like this, to where I see that there's a lot of importance and the story needs to be told, I'll usually call the people involved and get their perspective, and find out what I can say about it to help kind of spread that awareness about it. And then if it's something that happened that was really cool, I'll usually report on the after fact. So how it was, talk to some people who were there or something like that.
Well, that's a good thing to point out, that you do live in Fresno and then you do over there. So how do you have to kind of strategize, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, this is more important. How do you guys figure that out?
Technology, again, a lot of things I can do over the phone. Sometimes I do speak with somebody, though, and they want to meet in person, and I can't turn it down. So usually I try to go there a couple times a month. And it's not that bad of a drive, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, usually, I mean, in person is always better, especially when I'm like focusing on a person and somebody that, you know, wants to tell their story. I usually try to go in person and hear them there and, you know, get that kind of personal perspective from them. So,
what's one of the biggest things you kind of even learned about that area of the Valley?
The community. You know, you don't realize how many important people there are and how many people are making things go around and how many people make things happen, you know, on a smaller level. It's kind of hard to remember sometimes that we are just like small pieces of a larger puzzle. And so you get so focused on the bigger picture that it's really given me a chance to see things from their perspective and to see things into them and, you know, the important issues and the things that they want to talk about and things that are important. And like I said, the community, when something happens, people rally around. The obituaries, like I said, really show that. The community comes forward and tells their stories about the people and, you know, sends their condolences to the family. And
well, have you learned anything like, wow, I didn't know that Los Banos had so many of this or that going on, or like certain things like that, or that we had some people living there we didn't know, like somebody kind of like famous or notorious or doing so. Where were some of those stories that you had?
Let's see. I've been trying to get an interview with them, but there's a band called Moonshine Bandits, and they're from Los Banos. And I know that
great names. I guess they have great names of like performers.
Yeah, they've opened up for I think Jelly Roll a couple times, and they played a couple different. But yeah, they do. It's just kind of like they're from there, and so I try to reach out to them to get an interview. Besides that, I don't know any much more of celebrities. I know that they have a really big, you know, farming culture down there. But yeah, there's. I wish I could think of something off the top of my head. They do have a historic landmark there's like a park there with like a historic landmark thing, and yeah, that's all I have though on that. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now.
Have you made good friends out there too? Like now that you got to know, because I'm sure you get attached to some of these people and some of these stories.
Yeah, everybody I've done a story on, I've really, you know, enjoyed speaking with them, and I always tell them that there's something I can do in the future. If you need me, call me. Like if you want to give any updates. I just done a story on an ultra marathon runner, and he ran in I think it's called the Cocodona and 500 or something like that, but it's a ultra marathon, and it goes several days long, and it's through Arizona in the very hard parts, and you have to run and pace yourself, and it's this whole thing. Somebody actually passed away this year in it.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
It's a stamina race, and you know, I told him he didn't get through it, but what I learned from him is that by doing this race, he wanted to continue and try again. So I told him when it comes to it, and there's like a sponsorship and a scholarship that he can apply for because you have to be selected for it. I told him, you know, hit me up, let me know, let's do another story on it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'd want to help and do that. So
well, I'm glad he knew his limits. I mean, you know what I mean? Because if someone passed away and you're like, you know, you're taking it as much as you can. I mean,
it was amazing. It was like speaking with him. I think of marathon runners. I'm not a marathon runner. I never will be. But I really didn't understand the drive and the stamina and that you would have to do that, and the discipline. And so hearing his story and what pushed him to get there and, you know, keep going, it was great. I loved it. And then I had interviewed a firefighter from Merced. He had lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, and he went back to work afterwards. And again, I learned things from these people that are they're resilient, and they, you know, get back up. And when I speak with them, I don't have any, you know, like information on them. I usually go in blind, but I could not believe when I was speaking with him, you know, about things, just how positive he was and his resilience in it, and it's so inspiring. And so
now I want to go and read all these stories. Yeah. And so I follow the Facebook, I think, and Instagram. So what else can people go to follow and get their daily news?
So we go LosBanosEnterprise.com, and then besides that, we have the Facebook, Instagram. We have a TikTok that we push things on.
Is there a newsletter though? Because how do we know when a new story comes out?
When a news story comes out, it's basically Monday through Friday, usually sometimes on the weekends. But that's why the digital is kind of good because it's always there. So even if you miss like a breaking story, you can always just go to the website and read it.
But we can't get alerts.
Social media. Social
media we can, and then that's how we can go get the long version.
So we post the story, and then we put it on the social media channels. When I do the TikToks, I do a summary of it. That way you don't have to, you know, click on the link to read the story. So I try to customize the stories in different formats. That way it kind of appeals to everybody. If you're somebody who likes to wake wake up and, read the newspaper, you can go to the website. If you're scrolling through TikTok, the stories will come up.
And you have a huge readership too.
Yeah.
How do you guys track that?
So analytics, there's a lot of, again, really good technology and tools that allow us to do it. But we could see, how many people are active on the website at a time. We can see our views, visits, everything like that. So that gives us an idea of per story, what does well, and then also on a monthly basis, what we're getting on our website, what we need to focus on to kind of improve our reach on different social media platforms. But I try to customize everything so we can reach multiple people depending on how you want to read it. So
the question, what have people gotten mad at you about? I know you said you get worried sometimes about, was there any feedback where they were not happy with something that you wrote?
I'm going to leave that for Michael.
Oh my goodness. Really, there's nothing you could speak on that was like...
people get really passionate about, obviously, politics. And I do try to stay away from politics just because, again, I like good news. I don't like the bad news.
Well, you put the facts, though. So I don't know if anyone could get mad at you for... you don't put your opinion.
No, and that's why I'm so careful about, how I write things to make sure that it's factual and, true. And so... as far as people getting upset, there's just sometimes the animal stuff. We did a story about a horse that was rescued, and the people who donated to this facility just wanted to get help. And so sometimes the animal welfare situation gets a little controversial.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, they want to help animals, and then people who see when people get animals and maybe aren't ready for them, or they, don't want to ask for help because they're overwhelmed, because they got too many animals, things like that. So those can be touchy subjects, because it's like people want to help, people want to get animals, people want to help the push, but then there's people who, try to tell people about, well, maybe you should be prepared for it, or this is what you need. And so usually those kind of interactions can be a little touchy. So I try to focus on the positive of it. Yes.
And then where, if somebody wants to put their ads in there, who do they call?
Yeah, they call me. They can just email me, editor at Los Banos Enterprise. And then again, we do all kinds of custom ads. It's more than just, a banner that you pay for. I can do a story on it. I can do videos, posts. I usually do a combination of a article about it, whatever service or whatever they're doing. That way it kind of gives some more information about it. If somebody Googles them, it'll be on there. And then I also do some ads on the just static or a video on the social media on the website as well. So I like to do a combination, because marketing, we usually have to do several attempts to get the message across. So.
What's one of the big ads that you guys have, one of your big ad sponsors that you've had for a while?
We've gotten a couple of them. We just did some stuff for political candidates, and then we did some local businesses, and those are my favorite. I mean, anytime a local business, I always try to work with them and hook them up with some sort of deal, because
and
that's
talk
their
about
audience.
getting their stuff, because it's really good for small businesses and mom and pop shops, because
it's affordable, and because we can actually see who our audience is, we know that the readers are in that area. So when you buy an ad with us, you're not getting advertising that's going to the whole world, that people aren't going to buy it. This is something that you're getting. Most of the eyes, I want to say, last time I checked the numbers, is about 70% is the Merced area of our audience. So if you advertise with us, you're getting most of the feedback, and most of those people reading it are from the Merced area. So,
well, I'm going to go and look. I'm not in the Merced area, but I like knowing all these things that you said. That sounded really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So about this award that you guys got, I heard you guys didn't actually go to the event itself.
No, I was in school, and so I didn't get to make it. And honestly, when we'd apply, I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect anything, and so we just kind of did it, because I was like, all right, we can do this as a start, and start to kind of build up the newspaper, build up our following and our credibility. And when I taken things over and started writing for the newspaper, I was able to provide, more the labor, but a different perspective. And so I really put a lot into it to make it active. So I was just kind of taking this as like, all right, we're going to set this as a benchmark, start this year, and see where we're at, and reevaluate next year. And so, again, I went to class that night.
Did you see the other people that won and were like, oh, wow, we're in good company? Did you get you got a list of all the winners?
Yeah,
so who are some of the people you were surprised that you're with the other magazines and stuff?
A lot of the newspapers, I know that the Business Journal, Fresno Bee, Merced Focus, there were so many local newspapers that we were among, that I just was amazed, because those are the people that I tried to kind of model my actions for the business over. And so to see that, we got to be mentioned with them, it was really exciting.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And where can we follow you? We'll follow the Merced Enterprise.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's going to be at Los Banos Enterprise.
Los Banos Enterprise.
The little at sign and then Los Banos
Los
Enterprise.
Banos Enterprise. I don't know. We were talking about Merced. And then what about people want to follow you personally?
My name's Kara Hernandez. Usually my socials is Kara Larissa. So, yeah.
So everybody follow this girl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, you're back.
I am back. Wonderful. How are you doing?
Great. So what's this award that you guys won? I mean, Kara told me a little bit about it. You got to tell me what you won the award for.
Kara knows a whole lot more about it than I do, but I'll tell you what I do know. It's called the Gruner Award, and it was named after George Gruner. He was a journalist for the Fresno Bee. I think it was back in the 70s or the 80s. He wouldn't give up the name of a source, and so he went to jail for 13 days. And so he's kind of like this image of the old style reporter, what you're supposed to be, standing up for your convictions.
Would you be willing to do that?
13 days? I was in the Navy, man. That's nothing. Sure, I'd do that.
I guess it depends how lying who the source is.
Yeah. I think a lot of journalists would probably do that. But it doesn't come up like it used to. And I mean, we don't need sources anymore, really, because we've got social media.
Yeah.
Those are our sources. But I would, yeah. So if you got anything, I'd got you.
No, that's great. I mean, were you surprised when you guys were like awarded that your reach was that large? That
I was stunned. In fact, Kara didn't even tell me she put me in for the award. And I was just sitting at breakfast with some friends, and this text message came across from Kara, and she said, "I want to be the first to tell you." She's like, "You won the Gruner Award." I'm like, what's Gruner? But then it turned out it's a really big award. Fresno State, they call it the Pulitzer Prize of the Valley. So it's a really big award. The other awardees were Fresno Bee, the Fresno. There's another, I can't remember the name of the other newspaper. It's another big online newspaper around there that was involved in it. But GW Wire is frequently in there as a winner.
What about CV Lux?
CV Lux, yeah. I think they were a nominee. Merced Sun Star. So they're major newspapers for the Valley.
What do you think did it that really sparked them why they liked your guys' stuff?
Well, for me, the story that I wrote was a commentary, and I wrote it about my experiences as a Native American and as a Caucasian, growing with Eastern European ancestry. And I wrote a story about that and immigration. And I think that for my part, that two ancestor background was appealing to them, and that got their attention. And Kara's were just really good journalism. And you have a small newspaper that's coming up. It's been there for 137 years. And so I just think that got their attention. Here's this little newspaper. They got two people that are running it, and they're putting out good work.
137 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't been there the whole time. But
oh, really? You haven't?
Yeah, no.
No, that's great. I think that's really cool. And so, have you guys done awards before? Won other awards?
No.
Not since you've been there. You've been there.
I've only had it for a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah. And I think this is the first time that that Kara had submitted the awards. So we'll see.
Well, I'm glad somebody was on that.
Me too.
Oh, so what were the things she said you're going to talk about that she didn't want to talk about?
Didn't you ask her about the bad stuff?
Yeah, so what's some of the bad stuff that we...
like me getting sued for defamation? They sued the newspaper?
So what was that about?
Oh, my...
You won.
No, yeah, we won.
That's good.
But still, it's a. Well, let me give you the background to the story.
Okay.
So when the political season comes around, we have people in the local council that are running for office for council seats. Well, we're the local newspaper, and so we're going to do stories on who the candidates are. And I usually do the same thing. We reach out to whoever the candidates. There's just two this time, so we reach out to whoever the candidates are and say, "Hey, we'd like to interview you."
Yeah.
Well, one of the candidates, Mitzi Perez, said, "Okay, I'll do it." And so we did a nice interview like we usually do. Nothing real big or interesting in it, just this is who she is, this is where she came from, she's running for council, here's her contact information. The other one was Khalid Sanchez, and female Khalid, she first agreed to do the interview, but then didn't answer the phone when we called. And so, well, all right, let me look and see what's going on here. And so we started to do the background on her, and we found that she hadn't filed some paperwork related to her disclosures with with the political process. We reached out to her again and said, hey, how come you didn't file this? You know, what's going on? Don't you think this stuff should be in there? And again, she ignored us. So remember my other job, I'm a private investigator. So I was like, well, let's see what's going on here. And I did a little more research and I found a couple of loans that she had. She would say they weren't loans, but they were deeds of trust secured against her home. So that kind of is like a loan. And we reported on it and said, this is what we found. There are these deeds of trust attached to her house, and they're from a local developer. That would be relevant because if it's a big developer, and if that developer had stuff before council, she would have to recuse herself. She was very upset that we put this information on there, and it started kind of a little war of words between the Enterprise and her. She went to another newspaper.
So she finally got back to you, I guess.
Well, not directly. She did it through the other newspaper by writing editorials and getting them to write pieces on it. So, you know, we just reported the news and we moved on. And then after the election, I get served with a lawsuit.
Because she lost.
Yeah, she lost the election.
I assume that.
Yeah, she did.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't think people don't even realize like all that could really happen, like what you're taking on by like doing that role, that, you know, it's a big deal.
You know, and we did everything like we were supposed to. The lawsuit was immediately thrown out. We brought what's called an anti-slap motion, which is, you can bring it at the very beginning. She files the complaint, we filed the anti-slap motion, and the judge threw it out immediately because it was a baseless complaint. But still, I had to hire an attorney because I can defend myself, but I can't defend an LLC. So I had to hire an attorney to pay for all of it, and then you're getting phone calls, you have this court date coming up, we think this is going to happen, we don't know, so you've got all the pressure from it. And when it's all done, yeah, we won the case. We even got a judgment against her for the attorney's fees, but I still have to collect them from her, you know.
Oh, so, my goodness. Well, that's really that's an interesting process.
The slings and arrows of small town journalism.
So what did you change after that? Did you stop you said you kind of don't do a lot of politics anymore. You guys don't do as much.
Oh, I didn't change a damn thing. And I won't either. I'm not going to be scared off from it. We're just in a time right now where we don't talk about it. Kara doesn't like to do politics stories because they're so divisive. You can't talk about anything in politics without having half the people love you and half the people hate you. So during our regular reporting, we usually don't talk a lot about world politics, but local politics.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
that's
what matters. What's happening locally. What are some of the good things that have happened now that we went straight to the negative? Besides, what were some stuff that kind of surprised you in the past couple of years that you've done this, like a story or something that stuck out?
Well, I'm going to promote something here a little bit, but since you asked the question, once I started getting the newspaper going, started writing and learned about publication, how to do large amounts of writing, I said, you know, why don't I take some of this stuff and put it into a show, which we talked about before, the Michael Braa show that used to be on. But then I had all of this material from those shows and from the paper, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to try writing a book. And so I wrote a book. I wrote a book not based on all the stuff that I just talked about, but I had all of the processes in place to do that. So I wrote a book on the life of Jesus based upon, or from the perspective of, a private investigator.
Really?
I looked at all of the information that we had and measured it and said, okay, this would be solid evidence. This is not so much. And I just wrote about what we had as far as evidence. I laid it out there kind of like an argument, so to speak, but with verifiable facts and sources, best that I could, from his birth until his death and resurrection. And I did this, believe it or not, I have witnesses. I did it in 40 days.
Oh my goodness.
During Lent.
Now that's impressive. So when can we see this book?
It's out on, it's already out and published. It's available.
So what's it called?
Why Jesus and Why Then? I was supposed to bring a copy of it. It would have been nice right there.
Oh my gosh. No, I wanted to read this. That sounds really cool. So how big is the book?
About 300 pages.
And you really did that in 40 days?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to defend that a little bit. It's actually a subject that I have been wrestling with for many years, many years. So I had a lot of the information that I had done when I was in college and researching the philosophy that's involved with it.
All the debates that you probably have with friends over the years, I'm sure.
Yeah, some of it was in the brain. But the ability to take all that information and then put it into a series of chapters, that was something that was developed by running a newspaper and learning how to do that.
Where can we buy the book?
It's on Amazon.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Why Jesus and Why Then?
Where'd you come up with the title?
I didn't. I put it out to a lot of my friends and families that knew I was writing the book, and that's the one that kind of came out and said, well, this is what it needs to be because that's what it's about.
What kind of feedback are you getting on that so far?
It's all been very positive. It's a little bit, if there's any criticism, it usually is on the side of, it gets into the weeds a little bit because it talks about the philosophy of ancient Greek and moving up through the time of the birth of Christ and how we had gone from, I'm going to talk myself out of a job here, but how we moved from an inductive type of reasoning, which is thinking in categories, to a deductive type of reasoning, which is like post-Socrates. So in simple terms, you look at the Old Testament, it says, do this, don't do that. And you look at the New Testament, and Jesus says, love your neighbor, be a good person. So it moves from those categories and laws to the actual philosophy of understanding what you're supposed to be a good person. So there's a lot of that philosophy in it, and it gets a little bit thick sometimes.
I think there's no way it can, because there's just such a heavy topic, so it's going to get a little bit like debatable and philosophical, and I'm sure there's more books to that. There's going to be like a series on this, because I bet you're going to get a lot more.
Well, we'll see how this one goes. The next one that I wrote was the one I should have written first, which is on those stories that I had just told you about, all that stuff that I did with like the Michael Braa show. I had all this material from all the cold cases that I worked on. I said, well, I'm going to put all this together in a book. So that one's still in. So
there's different types of interest for different people.
Yeah, and those, well, in the books themselves, yeah, I would say that the Why Jesus and Why Then would be apologetic Christian educational reading, where the other one is a little bit more, the stories are true, but the way it's told is a little fictionalized, so it's a little easier to read. But we'll have to see with that one. It's 13 stories done in the series of...
And they're still unsolved?
Oh yeah, these are all unsolved.
Does that drive you crazy?
Not really, because some of them, I mean, I say unsolved, they're all still open.
Right.
But a lot of them, if you really dig down into what happened, you can solve them in your brain. I mean, I'm pretty convinced with the ones that I worked on, like Jack the Ripper. I'm pretty sure I know who that was. JFK's murder, I'm pretty sure it was Lee Harvey Oswald. D.B. Cooper, guy who jumped out of the airplane with all the money, pretty sure he died. So sorry. But yeah, so I think if you read through all of those and give you the amount of research that I put into them, they're really not unsolved. They're just not closed.
So who killed Jack the Ripper? Is it the painter guy?
No.
I know that was a big one. Everyone said it was a painter.
I mean...
Well, no. Hey, if we have to read the book, that's fine. We'll read the book. You'll tell me after.
Read the book.
No, but you talk about who you think killed Jack the Ripper in the book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And give the fact.
And what happened to that person, too.
Because that'll be a great read, like some of these things. It's like, what about the Zodiac Killer?
He's in there, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
That was a fun one.
Do you think you know who killed that guy?
Yep.
Wow, I can't wait to read the book. Okay, so we can get the Jesus book, then we can get that book. No, this is really great. So what are your plans now with the enterprise, like moving forward? I know it's kind of just the two of you doing everything. Are you looking for expanding, just keep on doing what you're doing with it? Like, what's the game plan?
Without giving away all of the keys to the kingdom, one of the things that the enterprise taught us was how to market to small areas. So not geographically necessary, but geographically necessary, but Los Banos is a 50,000 person community. And so when we learned how to, remotely, because we're in Fresno, when we were learning how to get the news from that area, we kind of had to go neighborhood by neighborhood, listen to what people were saying on social media, listen to the local police station, listen to what was happening at the dog kennel and the city hall, and we had to kind of do it in a really isolated area to get information out in a place that doesn't have a lot of information. But we were able to solve that problem. And so my thought was, well, if we could do 50,000 here, instead of coming to Fresno and doing 500,000, why don't we just do 1050s? And so I think that's the next evolution for us, is we're going to try to go into these smaller areas, divide towns up maybe by council districts, and use these same tools we're doing to get local neighborhood news and just report about those little communities. This is probably something that will develop into an app. So
I'm thinking that's what it's kind of like Next Door, but this is a different, more in detail.
Yeah.
What's,
And I mean, Next Door's got a great idea, but if you've ever read Next Door, I mean, at one point you get, we had a burglary in this area, this is what the guy looked at, and the next one is my neighborhood's barbecue fire is coming over my fence.
Exactly.
So you have to kind of pull out the good stories. And that's kind of the idea. The other thing with neighborhood is it's a little bit limited because it's just those people that are on the neighborhood app that are sharing information. And so it's actually a source for us, but there's other things that we can find too, especially with social media. Social media is underused as a source of information. And when you know how to look for it in a certain area and how to verify it from other sources, that's kind of the trick that we were able to solve. So that's, I think, what's next is we'll go into larger communities and do them, probably, like I said, probably like council district by council district.
I'm sure people will appreciate that.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, having people look at it and watch it's never really an issue. It's how do you monetize it, and how do you sell?
So how do you sell it and monetize it?
Well, that's the trick, and it has to do once again with getting information about people who are in those areas and what they want and what they're looking for. Because the people who live in 93721 have different wants, needs, and disposable income than 937030. So
right.
So you kind of have to learn you have to get information, you'll have to specialize it, but we have all the equipment to do that, so we can do that. So, well,
I'm sure the businesses will be happy too to even put their stuff out there, because I see on Facebook all the time people are like, well, do you know a place in this area that does this and this and this? So you're just kind of, that's why it is good to go the area by area, because that's what people want to know.
And we can do it now. It's something you couldn't do 10 years ago, but we can do it now.
Okay, what does that do for us that live out here though?
What do you mean out here?
Well, if we live in Fresno, we're gonna live in Merced. How are we gonna get our you need to bring that over here?
That's what I was saying. That's the next development. We've already done that. We've already done that out there, and now we want to bring it into larger communities like Fresno.
That's what, that would be really great, because I'm on like the Next Door, but then it's like I like to see what's going on in my mom's neighborhood and my neighborhood. There's different things, you kind of want to know what's happening. You would certainly be able to put it into, you just put your zip code in and get information. Or we get the alerts kind of from both, because I'll get the alerts from like one, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that all transpired.
It's new news.
We're working on that, working on the apps. Wow, you're really busy.
Yeah.
How do you have time to do all this stuff? Write a book and do the PI and do...
I don't. I'm having a mental breakdown is how.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Kara's very helpful with what she does. We've been able to automate a lot of things, which is also very helpful. But no matter how much technology and no matter how much automation you put into it, you got to have eyes. You have to have human eyes on everything, and someone still has to sign the check. So it's a lot.
Well, who are some of the big sponsors right now of the enterprise?
I'm not sure if, I guess I can give their names because they're on
our... one advertisement?
Yeah.
It's like a free plug.
Because, it's on my, I was just thinking about, you got to remember PI first, and advertiser second, so when someone asks about my clients, I automatically climb up.
Oh, yeah. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So the biggest advertisers right now would be Stonefield Homes, out of, they're a big developer out in Los Banos. We have several local businesses. Kara was just talking about the candidate for Congress that we had out there. We have, this is her job too. We have Darn it. I'm pulling a Kara on you now because she does all the advertising, so I forget the names of everybody.
Oh, that's right.
But we have the guy with the skyboxes. I'm trying to remember what that was. Yeah, I remember that because there's skyboxes on the advertisement. And then there's there are two different advertising, kind of like AdSense, like Google Ads. Well, there's private ones that'll do affiliate advertising for us, and so we don't specifically have the names. They give us the advertisements. They just show up on our page,
that's really cool.
and we get paid for it. Yeah. So if you go to the website right now and you look on it, there's ads all over the place on it. I just don't know all of them.
Well, that's a good thing. That's really awesome. So again, on social media, it's the Los Banos Enterprise. That's what we follow.
Social media, Los Banos Enterprise.
Okay. Yeah, sure, you get all that. And then what if people want to follow you and know what you're doing? Well, you mentioned the book. You mentioned.
I've actually got a website, michaelbraa.com.
Okay, and then you update that all the time. So now, if you guys had any questions about the books and all the stuff that you have going on, and then what about the show that's going on? You still doing that?
We're not doing this season. We might do it again after the summer.
It wasn't the Michael Braa show. There was something else. It was the other one.
Michael Braa show.
It was still the Michael Braa show. That's still what you're doing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's
the one that has the cold cases and a lot of the
and you can follow me on social media. It's Michael Braa.
Okay, so saying and we'll be back. Well, you're so busy. I can understand that. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Nice color.
Oh, thanks.
There's a moment right before a decision becomes permanent. That's when the questions start to matter. Because bad decisions can change everything. We're not who you call after. We're who you call before. I'm Michael from Atlantis Private Investigations. When you have questions, your answers are here.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. I just wanted to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here. Oh, I must confess, dear. Don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do. There's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends. Knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.